So Don, I'd like to talk to you about supplier integration, which is our ultimate level of integration with suppliers. We have Start Supplier, we have Smart Supplier, and then we have a full integration into a supplier's own ERP. And I'd like to ask you, first of all, at what point does this product become particularly relevant for suppliers?
The integration becomes relevant when the supplier reaches a point where the number of transactions that they're processing has exceeded some critical mass. Because integrations are not cost-free, and you can only get a return on the investment when you can start to save significant amounts of labor time, not just minutes here and there, but actually man days, man weeks, man months during the year, and that's when it becomes relevant. So really, when you're talking about thousands of documents being exchanged per year, that's when integrations start to become financially feasible.
And obviously we would work with the supplier to construct an ROI process to be able to see very clearly the benefit for them, for those particular suppliers you're talking about.
Absolutely, and it's not exactly the same for every supplier, because, for example, the more line items that you have in each transaction, the sooner you're going to reach that point where integration makes sense.
Now, I've heard one of the problems holding some suppliers back from going forward with an integration is their perceptions about data problems, data issues. So first of all, can you talk a little bit more about the problem, the perceived problem, and then whether it is a problem and how we address it?
Data quality is a huge problem. The shipping industry is particularly difficult in that regard because there's so many different ships built by so many different companies and so many different crew that speak different languages. So getting consistency is a huge problem. And if the supplier had to be dependent on perfect data coming in, there would be zero integrations. On the other hand, some buyers are able to send in good information. So what we've tried to do at ShipServe is to break it down. The first thing that the supplier has complete control of is the information that goes out of their system. And the typing of quotes into Start Supplier or Smart Supplier is an obvious labor savings. So when we break down the integration, the first thing that we automate is that outbound quote. So we take the quote document that's coming out of ShipServe, and instead of having to type it in, that goes through the integration and back to the buyer in an automated way with the supplier's product numbers, with the supplier's descriptions, to be able to, and that also helps the buyer to improve their systems. Now, the second step is that once you've sent out that quote, when the purchase order comes back, you should be able to automate that. And we can take advantage of, even though the buyer system may not be turning out good quality information, it may be turning out consistent information. So for example, I'll use a really simple case. Let's say a buyer asks for a request on cola, 1 case. And the supplier comes back with Coca-Cola, 300 milliliter cans, 24 to the case. Now, ideally, you'd like that purchase order to come back with exactly the same information that was in the quote. But it doesn't. It comes back and it says, cola, 1 case. So what we are able to do is we're able to say that as long as the RFQ and the PO were exactly the same, and the purchase order referenced the quote, that we will take that supplier's information that was perfect going out and feed it back in to create a perfectly formed purchase order that can be integrated. So this then takes care of 2/3 of the problem. And then the last step is that RFQ. And so to the extent that we can then get the buyers to start sending in better and better data, then we have to touch fewer and fewer incoming documents. And then the PO confirmation is easy. Sending a PO confirmation is just one step. So you can do that immediately at the same time that you automate the outbound quote.
Okay, so in summary, what you're saying is there's different flavors of integration, and suppliers with the larger volumes of transactions should contact ShipServe because we may have a very ready solution to all or part of their solution, and they will see very significant improvements in productivity from an integration, even a partial integration.
That's right. So as a supplier, if you find yourself saying, boy, I'd love to take all this typing time and get rid of it, we can help you with that, and we can show you the point at which it makes sense. And even if you're sitting there saying, boy, I can't believe what terrible data we're getting, we even can help you through that problem as well.
Okay, so final question, talking about how difficult an integration is. It sounds a bit scary, it's a scary word. How difficult is it?
ShipServe has a team of full-time integration specialists, and their entire existence is based on being able to help suppliers understand how to get the information out of their system and how to get the information back into their system. So we will hold the supplier's hand to make sure that it is not a painful process, but it's a guided process.